Okay, welcome everybody to Take an Art Break podcast. We're so excited today. We have artist Catherine Jostin here. And Catherine, tell us about yourself as an artist and about the Global Art Peace Project for Peace. All right.
Well, I'm Catherine Jostin, as you said, and I'm an artist and the founder director of the Global Art Project for Peace. And I also taught art at the college and university level for about 14 years before I started the project. But the project grew out of my own artwork. And my art was saying three main things: we are all one, there is no death, we are not alone, and the we are all one part for the Global Art Project just grew organically out of my own artwork. So the mission of the project is to joyously create a culture of peace through art. So
wow, that sounds awesome. I love that mission. We generally kind of use a question as a starting off point for all of our podcasts. And the question we wanted to sort of pose today with you is, in light of the project that you've been working on for so long and made such a big impact, is what happens to the world on art?
Wow, that's a really big question.
Well, yeah, we like to ask really big questions.
Well, I don't even know where to begin on that one. Doing the Global Art Project, one of the reasons that I do it is because I feel like in order to make an artwork, you can't really make an artwork without feeling it inside. And so you have to go inside, get centered, get balanced. And only then is when you're really connected up to your inner source of wisdom, that's when you're really inspired, and that's when inspired art comes out. And I think, that takes really going deep inside. And I just feel like, and when you do go inside, that's when you feel a connection to the whole. You feel connected to not only other people, but nature and the world. You just feel your energy vibrating with all the other energy in the world. And when you feel that, you can't possibly want to injure, another being, or, because it's a part of you. We're all one and we're all connected. So I feel like art is a way that people can go inside and really connect and really feel that connection with everyone. And if everyone felt that, I don't think we would have, a lot of the conflicts that we have going on in the world. And I know, a lot of people, when they participate in the Global Art Project, especially now, they say to me, thank heavens you're doing this now, because it helps me to see that there are other people in the world who think like me and who want peace and who want to feel connected, and instead of just seeing all the news that we're seeing, it's like, no, there's all these other wonderful things going on in the world and we can feel connected. So, and art helps you to feel that connection.
Can you share a story about someone that was really amazing, that went deep inside and really felt the peace during this project? Is there a story that happened or something that's memorable?
No, but I'm just thinking of one image that an artist created, and it was just a beautiful image. It sort of was a mandala sort of image with it's hard to explain, but it was really beautiful. And around the outside, she said, "The last unexplored frontier, inner space. When I find peace within myself, then I will find peace in the world." And I love that, because that just pretty much expresses what I just tried to say.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And the interesting thing is, it's so wonderful, because so many people who participate in the Global Art Project have participated year after year after year. And this was a person who participated for many years, was a regional coordinator, and helped to get other people involved. And she has now passed. And, I think of her, and I've used her image on a poster, and, I just feel like her energy and all of our energy just keeps going out there into the world and keeps affecting the world. And that's what art does. You know, one of the important things is not only do people exchange art for the Global Art Project, but I use the images then for posters, and we have, you know, wonderful galleries on the website, so people anywhere can tune in and see these incredible images, so that energy keeps going out into the world. It isn't lost.
Mhm.
So her energy, her beautiful positive energy is still affecting the world. So I think that's just beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a ripple effect. I really like that idea of it. And I think that to me, what's interesting about this project is not only are you encouraging people to make art in order to go inward and get to know their inner space, as you talked about, there's also a trade of it, an exchange of peace-centered art every April across the globe. And so I love this idea of art with like peace energy floating around the globe for a month and then falling into someone's hands. And just like I'm thinking about all the hands it goes through until it gets to its final destination. Um, you know, what does that mean to you to have that happen on an annual basis, these objects of peace sort of floating around the globe?
Yeah, well, actually, it's every 2 years.
Every
So
2 years. Okay.
that's every even year. So this year coming up, 2024, is a year of the exchange. But, you know, well, even to that, when I send out brochures for the Global Art Project, and we have about 200 regional coordinators around the world, and when I send the brochures out, I even put a note saying, you know, these are seeds of the brochures themselves are seeds of
Yeah.
that are going out into the world, and you never know where they're going to land and what's going to sprout. And the artwork or the flowers, the end flowers that bloom from these seeds of peace. So I think about that often, that so it's not only it's every part of it going out into the world is energy, as you said, rippling out into the world, and it's all making a difference, because as we know, energy is never dissolved. It's out there and it's going to manifest in some way. So we're all together putting our energy out there together, and it is making a difference, you know? So, yeah.
I've always loved the idea, because I'm a painter also, about the painting becomes like a psychic imprint of whatever intention you have. So have you thought about that? And do participants kind of really think about that, you know, when they're doing it? Like, you know, you know, because I was thinking about that today as we were going to talk. I was like, okay, peace inside first. You know what I mean? Peace inside first. And then when you create with that, you know, you really have to, and then that you're going to share this piece. And it's amazing. I mean, it's powerful. Have you thought about that?
Oh, absolutely, yes. And even when I send out the brochures to regional coordinators, I put in there that please put your intention, you know, into this, that you are putting this out into the world. And you know, my assumption is that everyone who is creating this art is putting their intention into the art piece to then go out into the world, because intention is everything, you know. So yeah, intention makes all the difference.
So yeah, you said that you taught, and that sort of led you to create this project. Can you talk about that, the sort of the history of how it began, and what you were thinking of the time, how it manifested?
Yeah, no, it wasn't the teaching that led to doing the Global Art Project. It grew out of my own artwork, organic.
Okay.
And actually, yeah, my artwork was saying three main things: we are all one, there is no death, we are not alone. But even my own artwork, when I was in my early 20s, I had a really intense out-of-body experience and I was, you know, speeding through space, and it was, you know, in this intense vortex of energy that I went down into another, you know, I knew I was leaving this reality dimension. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to come back. And so my fear brought me out of it, but it happened the next night. And finally, the third night, I was able to control my fear enough to go down into this swirling vortex of energy. And after that experience, I knew, I always knew on that there is no death, that things continue, but also that we're one energy vibrating together. So this experience just gave me a lot of knowings on a whole lot of different levels that we are all one energy. And immediately after I had this experience, it was so profound and visually intense that I wanted to continue doing this. So I decided to go into visual art so that I would be able to continue having experiences and be able to express the ideas in my art. And so for 12 years, I worked on this body of work, Origins, that had those three main things. But after doing it for 12 years, it was like, okay, now it's time to do something to make it real in the world. And for those 12 years, I was in my studio all the time. I wore nothing but black, because I was so in, to get this out. And then to do the global art projects, it's like the total opposite. I have to be totally out into the world and totally to be able to, but it takes that idea, we are all one, and expresses it in the world. And if in fact we are all one, then everyone else in the world who's creating the art is a part of me creating the art. So it's an extension of my own artwork. But
beautiful. I also had an out-of-body experience when I was 18. I was in a car crash though, and I saw myself in the lights, and they were putting a halo over my head. And the only thing that flashed me in was I saw my nephew. He was okay. He was a 3-year-old that was in the car as well. And then boom, I went back into my body. But my personal story is I was more of like a tormented artist, like kind of like gothic. And then after that, I became like really into mysticism. Like I was like searching. And from my experience, I really tapped into that there is something so much larger than ourselves out there. And I guess you could call that would be the one, right? That would be the one energy that is, it's not here. It's not in our bodies. And we forget, unless we have such a shocking experience of revelation, it's hard to remember, But the question I have, you were talking about this inner work of, you were going, you had these out of body experiences, and I would love to know, was it meditation or how did that happen? And then you had the outer. And so did you feel it was this dance of personal becoming universal? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, the thing is, growing up, I had mystical experiences. I had that before, but this one was so intense and so profound. And it was one of those things that it totally led me into doing art. It led me into doing the Global Art Project. It was one of those that, and I knew that this is absolutely what I came here to do. And I forget what your question.
I was talking about, this dance, because it was birthed out of this inner journey, right? And then you took it to the outer, which is the Global Art Project for Peace, and just this dance between this personal and this universal. And how can, even like the participants they're doing it too. They're dancing in this personal, universal, this inner and outer. It's kind of like, maybe it's just me talking, but if you could add to that.
No, I mean, well, because it all starts inside, and until I don't know, that's a profound thing, because a lot of people don't realize that or come to that, much later in life. But when you come to that, it just shifts your whole paradigm. It shifts how you view everything. And I think, even, I tell people the hardest part of doing the Global Art Project can be going inside and imagining that peace is possible, with all the conflict that's going on in the world, and your family and your home and your school, it's like, okay, you got to go inside, get centered, and it starts inside, and it can't affect, well, what you do affects outside, but anyway.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, though. I think it's a really important point to bring up, though, that it really is hard sometimes to believe that world peace is possible. It's really difficult. We're sent information on a daily basis that it's impossible, right? We live in a very fear-based society. And we're fear-based beings for survival reasons, you know, and so I do think you have to practice being peaceful. And art is a great way to practice that. So I appreciate that notion that maybe someone can't do it and they're just like, you know what, I'm just gonna make art. At least I'll do that. And eventually, I think art itself can lead you to that peaceful place, right? Because it will open you up. Whether you want it to or not, art is going to introduce you to your entire self. And when you're
all of
ready
you.
for it, all of you, yeah, it's really gonna let you know who you are, the good, the bad, all of it, the whole pie. You're gonna eat the whole pie. And I think that's a good thing to do. And art is a really great tool for processing that. And so you dive into that, and then maybe you can find peace for those people who can't necessarily, who haven't found that yet, right? In order to have that intention, maybe you just start with the art. Maybe some people can start with the piece and then make the art. Maybe some people need to start with the art, get to the piece, and then keep making the art, right? Because all of it is really important, even the process itself. But I think that's a really great point to say that yes, it's difficult to imagine that peace can exist, especially, I mean, at any time in a society. But if you don't start with you, it's never going to happen. So start with you. I really like that.
Yeah, and you know, someone once asked me, or someone once said to me, well, you can't make peace. There always has been war, there always will be war. You can't make peace. And and you know, and I remember my response was, well, but you can work towards your ideal, you know. And if you're in the world working towards your ideal, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you feel good about yourself, you know, because you know you're doing your thing, you know, and you're listening to yourself, and you're, you know, and the thing is, you're creating in your own tiny little space, you're creating that that peace, and that, as we said, it does ripple out into the whole rest of the world. So, but and I liked what you said about just even the process of making art, because that's true. Even the process, because you're focused in, and I mean, even that focus is a centering. It's so it doesn't matter even that you're you know, it doesn't matter the image, it's the process of focusing in on creation. And you know, when you're in the process of creation, that's, you know, that's the closest you can get to your to your source, you know, and that inner source of wisdom.
So we know that you have some global recognition, UNESCO. You were presenting there. Can you talk about that?
Excuse me?
Oh, didn't you talk, have a speech at UNESCO?
Oh no, that was the International Network of Museums for Peace.
Oh, okay.
I was on the advisory committee of that for about 7 years, and now I'm a senior advisor. But every 3 years they have a major conference someplace, and all the peace institutions come there and they can give presentations. And so I gave, it's a really wonderful organization. And so every 3 years, yeah, it happens. And this time it was in Uppsala, Sweden. And actually it was really wonderful this time, because I made some, you know, well, you always make good contacts and, you know, meet wonderful people. But the Peace Museum in Kyiv, Ukraine, woman there who is the court, she was very excited about having the Peace Museum get schools and individuals and groups in Kyiv and the surrounding area involved in the Global Art Project. And another person I met is the coordinator of the Peace Museum in Tehran, Iran, and she was very excited about getting people there involved. And yeah, it's just so it's a really wonderful organization, and it's really helpful. Well, you know, everybody feels so isolated and separated, and you're doing this peace work. And so it's really wonderful to come together every 3 years and just hear what other people are doing. because there's so many different avenues for peace. I'm just, someone also one time asked me, well, why do you think making art is the best way to make peace? I said, I don't think that making art is the best way. It's one way, everybody has their own opening. And this is just one way. There's so many other wonderful ways to create peace. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's awesome to even hear that there's organizations working together towards peace. I feel a lot of times in some sections of the art world itself, it does feel very separate. It feels very ego driven and about the individual. And I think that even that can happen in movements that people are trying to create, right? You almost forget that it's better to collaborate than not to collaborate. And that can happen for many reasons. So I think it's awesome that not only are you sort of open to the notion of whatever we need to do to get to peace works for me. There's no one way to get there, so long as we get there. And everybody else is open to listening to all the ways in which you're getting there. It's awesome. I mean, I think collaboration is definitely key, right? It's that the individual seeking the partnership, and then the collaboration, and then the community and that conversation. And that's how you grow and grow and grow and grow. I love it.
That's what I love about the Global Art Project, and why I think it's so successful, because it is all about collaboration. Me individually, I could do nothing, but it's all these people, all these schools and all these organizations and all these individuals, and everybody participating is making it happen. I couldn't do it if there weren't all these and actually, when I started it, I was only going to do it once because it was so difficult. And
Yeah.
when I started it, that was back in 1993.
Wow.
First exchange was 94. There was no internet. I didn't have a computer. I wrote up a press release and sent it to English language newspapers in major cities throughout the world, not knowing what would happen. And I also sent it to United Press International and Associated Press. And it ended up the Bangkok Post and Aftenpost in Oslo, Norway. And so for the first exchange, there were 3,600 people in 19 countries. And
wow.
I was only going to do it once. And then I started receiving letters from participants saying, you've got to do this again. And when you do, I spread the word in my area. So it became a biannual event happening every 2 years. And when I saw that it was kind of continuing, I said, okay, I'll give 10 years out of my art to do this. Well, it's been 30 years now. And the main thing that has kept me going all this time is the response, the feedback. Because after each exchange, I go, I cannot possibly do this to myself again, because the administration is so awful.
Yes.
But then, like birth, then the baby comes, then you start receiving and seeing all these incredible images and the notes and what people write and say, how it affected not only their school, but their whole community, and how and I read this and I go, how can I not do this? So that is really what has kept me going, is the response from people. So, and it's just this huge collaboration. Yeah. And there have been so many, we've had schools all the way from kindergarten and nursery school through entire graduate programs that have participated. And there have been some universities that have created courses specifically for their students to participate in the Global Art Project and get their community involved and have an exhibition. And the Tynan Community University did that. And yeah, so it has been a total organic process. It has been leading me. I have not been leading it, And every time that I think, oh my God, I'm just too drained, I can't do this anymore, it's like something else exciting happens that gets me jazzed about it again. There's always something. One of our regional coordinators was the co-chairman of the Fine Art and Design Department at Beijing Normal University. And he got the university education department to collaborate with the Fine Art and Design Department to get 52 schools throughout China and Inner Mongolia participating. And they did that for many years until COVID hit. But
Mhm.
now had 165,000 participants in 97 countries, and we have about 200 regional coordinators, and yeah. And it was nominated for a UNESCO Prize for Tolerance and Nonviolence. Yeah.
Wow, bravo. Bravo,
Yeah,
you are
wow.
like a testimony to art transforms and art can transform the world, right?
Yes. Yes.
And when I started, I had no money, I had no contacts, no computer. I borrowed $100 from my parents to print banners and brochures because it's such an ephemeral idea, yet you needed something tangible, you know, to make it real. And I tried to apply for grants. And, you know, I thought, oh, this is such a great idea. Surely I'll get a grant, you know. And
Yeah.
I would
Right.
receive letters back saying, this is too grandiose of an idea. No one can possibly do this, you know, do something more realistic. But I knew that it could work, you know, I could see it clearly in my mind. And so, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's clearly working, and I'm glad you are continuing to do it. Yeah, so I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today about it, and introduce some more people to the project.
And so if
Lisa
people
looks
want
like she has.
to be part of this, how can they get a hold of you? What's the best way to become part of the movement?
Well, yeah, because we have brochures that I can send. And yeah, if you email me, peace@globalartproject.org, or you can, no, the best way go, or you can go on the website and you can go on the website and register to participate, or you can go on the website and register to be on our email list. We just put out a promotional email that I can send you. If you want to be a regional coordinator and help distribute brochures in your area and get people involved in your area, you can email me at peace@globalartproject.org. Our website is www.globalartproject.org. Yeah. So.
Wonderful. Awesome. And we'll list we'll put links in the description so people can click on it and find you. And of course, people can always get a hold of us if they can't find you, and we'll help them get connected.
Thank you so much for doing the work you're doing.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you.